welcome back to this week's episode of CJ Discusses, where we discuss this week's episode of Below Deck Sailing Yacht. And really, there isn't that much to discuss this week. This was a pretty lackluster episode, not a lot of excitement going on. I was really expecting a little bit more of an argument between Daisy and Gary to kick it off, and we didn't really get that. And from there, it was pretty much a vanilla episode. But we do see that they are setting up a couple of things that will probably come to a head as the season continues to unfold. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right on into it. And like I said, the episode picks up with Gary and Daisy basically having an airing of the grievances. You know, they're talking about their previous issues, about how each feels that they don't support one another. But really what it comes down to is that they just want to do that, support each other, be on the same team. But these two just either need to get married and live happily ever after, or really never work again, because they just seem kind of like oil and water. They just rub each other the wrong way all the time. Once Gary and Daisy go ahead and kind of come to a mutual understanding of what their issues are and how they can go ahead and move forward, they go back to the table and they see that the check has come. And Cloyce is basically trying to itemize this check so that he's only paying for what he got. Daisy brings up the fact that what they've done in the past is that each crew member takes a night out and pays for the entire check, which really just makes sense when you have this many people that are going out. You know, it's going to be pretty much the same amount each time. Just kind of take the hit one night and you're done for the entire season. But Cloyce is not having it. He's saying, I don't drink as much as everybody else, and I'm not paying for 10 bottles of wine when I only have one. And has really put up a big show. Gary says that it's because of his age and immaturity. I mean, I kind of see where Cloyce is coming from on it, but really, I mean, we did this all the time on cross countries. We would play credit card roulette, put all the credit cards in a hat, pull it, and that person gets it. But it really just is the fairest way to do it is just have one person take one night out. Everybody takes a hit one time during the season, and, you know, you just move on from there. Just don't be a jerk, and when it's not your night, you know, order the most expensive thing on the menu. They come back to the boat, and Cloyce says that he's still wound up, and the only way that he can kind of unwind is to cook. So we see him and Gary in the kitchen, and Gary's trying to talk Cloyce off the ledge, and Cloyce is trying to unwind, and it basically becomes into a date night for the two of them, where they start enjoying some oysters and wine, and I'm not quite sure where it's going to go from there. Maybe there's going to be some kisses, but nope, they just go up and they just kind of hang out on the deck, work through the issues that Cloyce had with the evening, over some nice oysters, wine, and cigarettes. Everybody goes to bed at that point. We wake up the next morning, and it's time to get ready for the next set of guests that are coming on. Glenn does a preference sheet meeting, and we find out that it is a woman who's coming on board to celebrate her 60th birthday with her two daughters and a bunch of her friends for a total of 7 people. The only major issue is that one of the guests is gluten-free, which in this day and age is really not that big a deal. You might as well just have a peanut allergy. So Cloyce is getting off pretty easy. They want to do basically a surf and turf night, another seafood extravaganza, and like an excursion to like a lagoon type atmosphere, if not to a lagoon itself, which Gary's pretty excited about because he's got some inflatable stuff that he can use to go ahead and create that environment for them. So it's looking like it's going to be a pretty, you know, chill set of women that are going to be coming on board with no real issues. From there, it's basically just like some filler footage. We have the two junior stews. They're downstairs, kind of bonding over doing the crew the cabins, getting them ready for the guests coming on board. Danny doesn't really like doing cabins, but she's getting the work done, and they really seem to be hitting it off. We see Gary on deck with Emma, and he's trying to work her through. You know, she's brand new. She's only been in the industry for about a year, so she's trying to work through some of her knowledge shortfalls and get her ready to go. And then he takes the deckhands out on the tender, which is a jet-propelled tender. So it just shoots water out the back, and that's how it goes. But it's the traditional, obviously, outboard engine type tender. So none of them are checked out on that, so he's getting them checked out so that they can operate the tender, and he's not the only guy that has to go do it. We then get the guests on board, and Glenn makes the announcement over the radio that he wants to pretty much immediately get the sails up and get into sailing mode. I don't know why this always seems to be an issue. I mean, it's a freaking sailboat. Why stuff isn't properly secured all the time. But Glenn gets the sails up, heaves it over, and they are motoring at that point. That ship is probably at close to a 45-degree angle as it's motoring along, and things are just falling everywhere, to include people. Deck chairs are sliding with people in them up on the deck. Plates are getting broken. Things are just flying all over the place. Once they get to their mooring point, they kind of survey the aftermath down below, and Daisy's just kind of shell shocked and just trying to get everything cleaned up before the guests see what actually happened below decks. The only good thing is that one of the new crew members didn't leave any of their windows open in their cabins, because they were definitely underwater and it definitely would have flooded the inside of the ship. So while we all know that they are not allowed to have their windows open, we do know that from past experience, some people have opened them to air out their room. So luckily that did not happen. All right, now that the guests are on board and they've been situated, now it's time to get ready for dinner service. Clois is in the kitchen getting the paella ready, as well as the rest of the seafood that's going to go with that. And Daisy goes ahead and tasks Danny with getting the table decor ready for the night. Now, she does tell Danny to go ahead and make it tacky, which isn't really what she means. She just kind of means like over the top, Guests want to see over the top table decor. And Danny says that she's really into the arts and crafts type aspect, and this is her thing, but she doesn't want to be known as having tacky table decor, and really starts to spiral at this point. And we kind of see that, you know, as we go forward, there's going to be some issues with Danny. We already saw her giving Kyle mixed signals, and now we see that she's just an emotional roller coaster at this point, and she's got her ups and her downs, and they come fast and furious. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this manifests itself as the rest of the season goes on.